Hello and welcome you all towards our next session where we would be discussing around some of the contemporary happenings of ancient India. Now, up till last time, we have seen the n number of historical events which took place in our Indian subcontinent, and during this phase, we saw the emergence of civilization, the emergence of administrative structures, and the emergence of economical as well as social relations within the Indian subcontinent. Okay, now since we were discussing around ancient India, we'll see that the civilization first started around this area, that is Indus Valley civilization. After that, we had discussed that a human being, okay, a human being or a people living in the society, contributingly living in the society, started to have some of a particular structure representing each region as well as the religions separately in a separate domains. Okay, so here we had discussed about the Magad city, especially in the northern Indian context. Okay, what was the economy, what was the administration, how they evolved during the time. Okay, and with respect to that, we had discussed a number of geographical locations and the historical events also, with respect to some of the sources that tells us about this deep and interesting stories. Okay, friends, we have also discussed about the Mauryan period or the pre-Mauryan period also, and the post-Mauryan period also. How did this kingdom evolve, how Mahajanapadas were formed, and how these Mahajanapadas were converted into the Mauryan period. Okay, after that we had also seen that during the post-Mauryan period we had seen the Shungas, Kanvas. Okay, and after that we had also seen the Gupta dynasty. But during all this phase, we were just discussing about the northern Indian subcontinent, that is above the Kalinga region. Do you remember the Kalinga region which we were discussing last time? Okay, during the Ashokan period, this Kalinga region was acquired by the king Ashoka, by the Samrat Ashoka. But after the Mauryan Empire decline, okay, after the decline of the Mauryan Empire, we'll see that the in post-Mauryan period, the Kalinga Empire would be again getting separated from the main division of the kingdom. Okay, so here when the Shungas and all those would be coming again in the power, we'll see that the Kalinga Empire is again getting independent from the mainland or the main administration or the centralized administration. After that, we'll see that during Gupta period also, Gupta had a limited control over the Indian subcontinent, not as large as compared to the Mauryan period. So here, one thing you should be noting here, that up till Mauryan period, yes, we had a vast distribution of administration throughout Indian subcontinents, leaving some small part of the South India. Okay, but up till the Gupta period or up till the post-Mauryan period, up till the post-Mauryan period, up till the post-Mauryan period, especially when we were discussing about the external invasion of the Indo-Greeks, Parthians, Shakas, and everyone. Okay, we'll see that Romans were specifically interested in this region, in this peninsular region of India. Why? Because this had a rich source of revenue. Secondly, it also had a good amount of scope to trade for the gold. Okay, now gold was one of the favorite metal which the external traders supposed to have from the Indian subcontinent. Beyond this Uttarpath. Okay, so during the last session we had discussed the Uttarpath also and the Dakshinpath also. Okay, during Gupta period we had discussed about this Uttarpath. Okay, but what about Dakshinpath? Okay, we had discussed about the Uttarpath, that this Uttarpath was major confluence okay, of Indian powers plus the Western powers, okay. But here, when we come to know about the Dakshin Path had its own speed, it had its own frequency and pace of development of economical relations. So this Dakshin Path was much different from this Uttar Path. Okay, so here there are many of the evidences where we find that the Romans were having good amount of relationship with this South India peninsular region. Okay, and this coinage system tells much about the history of during that period. How was the revenue system? What was the taxation structure? Okay, how was the living style? What were the international relations being developed during this phase, during the post-Mauryan phase? Now, although up till the last lecture we had discussed until the Gupta period and the post-Gupta period, okay, but here we are discussing about the period from post-Mauryan to post-Gupta. Okay, so here we are discussing about the Sangam age. We are discussing today about the Sangam period or the Sangam age, the most important period where you will see n number of questions that UPSC tries to focus upon. So try to emphasize on this topic very significantly, because see, in your 9th standard NCRT and in your Tamil Nadu NCRT board also, there are very brief chapters on this period with respect to your ancient India. If you are done with the Mauryan, you are done with the Gupta and the Indus Valley civilization. After that, the most important fourth topic to be done with respect to ancient India is your Sangam age. Now, many of the students split this topic, just read out some of the architecture, some of the administrative structure, and leave out the Sangam age. But that's not the way to prepare for your preliminary or the mains examination. Now, although we are majorly focusing upon the preliminary perspective, but you also need to take some of the analysis with respect to your mains examination. Okay, so here try to concentrate whatever aspects we are discussing about the Sangam age, because even though we would be discussing about the Sangam age, we would be also talking about the Mauryan age, we would be also talking about the post-Mauryan age, we would be also talking about the Gupta age. Okay, so we are going contemporarily and very updated way with respect to n number of resources, n number of references from where we get those evidences. Okay, so I hope you got the timeline of the Sangam age. The timeline of the Sangam age was 3rd century BC to 3rd century AD. Now, majorly the Sangam age lasted, the major happenings lasted for 2.5 centuries. Okay, but in historical text or in the referral materials, we would be having the history right from the evolution to what's the complete decline of the Sangam age. Okay, so that is why we take it as a 3rd century BC to 3rd century AD. So without wasting any of our minute, let us start with our Sangam period. Okay, now as we know, after discussing the timeline and the geographical phenomena, we are firstly seeing the significance of this topic with respect to your UPSC preliminary examination. Now just read out the question given on the screen. With reference to the ancient South India, Korkai, Pompuhar and Mucheri were well known as. So this is completely a geographical question which reflects some of the important locations that were derived from the historical texts. Okay, so here whenever we are discussing about the resources, whenever we are discussing about the artifacts and evidences, please try to remember the names of the cities which we are discussing. Okay, so here the Korkoi and Pumpahar. So this Pumpahar is the most important city, okay, where many of the historical evidences are being present with respect to the Sangam age, and with the single name of this city you can contribute to the answer. Okay, now let us take the next question. Now, this was also asked in Prelims 2023. Which one of the following explains the practice of Vattakirutal as mentioned in the Sangam poems? So, here the major form of the evidence of Sangam age is Sangam poems or the Sangam poets who tells us about the polity, about the administration, about the society and everything. Okay, so here the major question was being asked on the Sangam poems. Okay, so you had been given the four options: kings employing the woman bodyguards, learned persons assembling in the royal courts to discuss religious and philosophical matters, young girls keeping watch over the agricultural fields and driving away the birds and animals. After that, a king defeated in the battle committing ritual suicide by starving himself to the death. Okay, so of course the answer is D. But here, just take a note what you need to do and what you need to avoid. Okay, first thing you need to avoid is the unnecessary details which the Sangam poets tells us. Okay, and the most important details needs to be noted in your notebooks while we are discussing. Okay, so here a king defeated in the battle committing ritual suicide. Now it tells us something about the administration also. It tells something about the legacy of the kings during that period, and it also tells some of the rituals and the systems that were carried out during the administrative decisions and whatever activities that were taken during that period. Okay, so here the Sangam period would be complete